Hello, it's great having you with us again on another edition of the program Let's Talk on Love World Plus. My name is Zoe Okafor, and today we are going to be looking at Nigeria's economy. We will be looking actually at AMCON, which is the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. Our topic actually says reviewing AMCON's mandate amid IMF's recommendation. That's what we are going to be looking at, and to help me address this particular discussion today, I'm joined by Kenneth Olise, who is a chartered accountant. He is an economic analyst. He also is a social expert. You're welcome to Let's Talk.
Thanks so much, Zee.
It's always a pleasure. All right, now in giving us a little background to what our discussion is about, I'm going to read out the introduction that I have here. It says, recently the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, came out to state that the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, or AMCON, should be closed as it creates a moral hazard in Nigeria's financial system. Now, the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria was set up to revive and stabilize Nigeria's banking industry through the purchase of non-performing loans of the nation's banking industry. AMCON has so far acquired over 10,000 non-performing loans worth of about 3.5 trillion naira, which is about 20 billion US dollars. In addition, AMCON has injected fresh capital into 8 Nigerian banks, 5 of which have entered into successful mergers. Now, the question is, with what the IMF is saying, has AMCON really outlived its usefulness? Has it? Well, these are some of the questions that we will try to answer today. And like I did say, the topic is reviewing AMCON's mandate amid IMF's recommendation. Okay, so let's get straight to it. In your own opinion and from your own observations, how would you say that AMCON has fared, you know, in terms of revitalizing the banking industry, in terms of what we have seen they have been able to do? How would you rate their performance?
AMCON came in 2010,
okay,
about 2 years now. One would say review it against the background of their core mandate,
okay,
that they have done very well. Where are they coming from? Now we are talking about having about 10,000 NPL, 10,000 non-performing loans. As at the time the AMCON came in, the non-performing loan level, you know, in the banking system was about 35% on the average. For those very serious banks that had so many challenges, they had about 60%, you know, of the non-performing loan. They were to bring down, you know, the financial system. As of today, according to the report I read from Central Bank, the average is at 5%.
okay.
No bank today is facing any threat of you know, solvency and all that. Now, against that background, you will say that they are performing very well.
Okay.
If you read the papers, you see that they have taken some bank debtors to court. They are going through the legal process to recovering this loan. The major objective of AMCON is to revitalize the banking system, so
okay,
that you can take those toxic assets out of the banking, out of the you know, portfolio, so that they can have that credibility and have that and enjoy customers' confidence. Remember that this was happening against the background of global recession, and because we are Nigerians, once we are able to make a significant achievement, we tend to underrate it. So many countries have gone down, you know, because of this problem, but we were able to avert it. Maybe that's why we didn't appreciate it. We were able to avert, you know, the economic crisis, you know, could have arisen where this decision not have been taken. So one will say that AMCON has done very well, especially in the past 2 years. I don't think it could have been better, so to say.
Okay, so in line with the IMF's call, you know, sort of saying that it creates a moral hazard in Nigeria's financial system, and it's probably outlived its usefulness. Do you share those? No.
I'm surprised I'm surprised about the World Bank recommendation. I think it's a circular which I tried to look at. I don't know what informed that kind of position.
Okay.
Basically, what you're looking at the global practice. What do countries do when they have that challenges? What Nigeria has done is abnormal. In 2008, September 2008, Henry Paulson, the Secretary to American Treasury, wrote to the Congress asking for $700 billion intervention to, because of the subprime mortgage crisis. It was granted. Okay. America, we call it granted facility, to the auto industry, 3 of them, they were looking for, governments have always intervened. As of today, Britain has intervened about 738 billion pounds in their industries. Why do you do this? Not that government, it's not about talking about capitalist welfareism, but it's just talking about economic imperatives. How do you save the economy so that the economy could keep running? But one of the arguments why America was trying to intervene with our 700 billion, I'm talking about over 100 something, about 130 trillion. We are talking about is because they do not want people to be out of job. They know the relationship, interdependence of companies. With one particular company, if anything goes down with it, other companies it will suffer spiral effect. They know that, and that's why they try to intervene, especially against the background that the essence of government is for the welfare and security of citizens. And to actualize the welfare of citizens, people have to have jobs. So they will do everything to retain and make sure that people get jobs, including financial intervention, especially in the financial system.
In the banking system. Yes. Okay, now AMCON has come out to say that it will not buy bad loans from banks anymore. I'm thinking, is the acquisition of bad loans, was that the only mandate of AMCON, the intervention? Was that the only thing AMCON was supposed to do? And if they have come out to say that they're not going to do that any longer, yes, what else do they do? Do the banks become sort of monitored by AMCON? What really happens?
No. Let's take it against the background of the IMF suspicion of having moral hazard. Yeah. You are thinking like, look, by the time where we continue to intervene like this, or by the time this goes unabated, the banks will now relax the credit management responsibility, knowing fully whether somebody somewhere is likely to take it. But it's not at no cost. Now, what happens is that, assuming you have a 10 million naira facility, bad debt, a non-performing loan, if AMCON is going to take it, AMCON is not going to give 10 million naira. It's going to give it to you at a discounted value. Perhaps AMCON is going to give it maybe at 60 or 70%. You understand? Okay. So you are losing about 30%. And what I are to do is that when you are now in your balance sheet, instead of writing off the total 10 million, you have the leeway now to write off only the 30 million because you now have it. Now, AMCON now takes this 10 million loan as what it has now bought up this debt from you. It's now for AMCON to go after, the debtor. So if he's able to get the 10 million, the 30 million becomes his own. So that is the risk he's taking. That's why he's buying it. Okay. Now, if AMCON now come and say, look, we are no longer buying, it's a business decision because the fund to do this, it's not inexhaustive. And again, they are trying to do that to make the banks, stem up, their credit management. Yeah. Now, having said that, you want to say that if AMCON is doing this, what other things are they supposed to do? Now, when they have bought the loan, they don't stop at that. They are now going to go after those defaulters. They are now going to look at, like the banks they took, they bought over. They are now going to look at investors to come and buy, and so that they can get back their money. It's not for them to go and buy and now begin to run those banks. Okay. It's an intervention. And when you have specific intervention like this, it's not forever. Even the one in America, in the first place of 10 years. And they say, look, for every 50,000 billion, for every $50 billion, you will give us a report. Okay. Monthly, give a report to the Congress. Okay. So I thought that IMF should have concentrated on how we can leverage on the achievements made. And if there are defects, which personally I can point at immediately, we'll see how we can go around them. First of all, I have not seen AMCON successfully prosecuting any data. Okay. And you see that becomes a problem of our legal judicial environment. Okay. It's not,
and they have the authority to do that.
Of course, they take it to court. You get. I don't want to mention it, but there's one particular gubernatorial aspirant who they took to court. Is getting, they are having, the what goes on in the judiciary. Yeah. So there's delay, and this is a law-abiding climate. So what you do is to see how you can patiently follow through the legal process. Okay. When this delay can now, will make it difficult for you to see immediate results. Then somebody somewhere who think that are not working. Now, if they are recovering the loan and they have more money, they can actually buy more. But it's not that the same thing. It's not that if the source from which they are buying this loan will remain inexhausted. Okay. Let me tell you, in my opinion, this intervention should not be stopped at only the banks. It's supposed to be extended to other institutions, where that can give rise, to higher employment, okay. Like Ajokuta, the data state, the textile industries. Okay. You understand? Remember, last year the federal government released about 70 billion for the textile industry. Yeah. If they had given that kind of money to AMCON, so AMCON can now go and buy off shares, put money in those people, get people back to work, and now begin to run and get back the money. Yes.
Okay, well, if you're just joining us, we are looking at reviving AMCON's mandate amid IMF's recommendation. By the way, AMCON is the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, which is a body that was set up to stabilize the banking industry in Nigeria through the purchase of non-performing loans of the nation's banking industry. Okay, now, the AMCON CEO, Mustafa Chike Obi, has stated that AMCON was not created with a profit motive, but to save the Nigerian banking system from collapse. And analysts are saying that, that ties with the belief that AMCON is more of a charity than a business entity. The CEO is saying we are not really doing this for profit, Does that not mean that we are more of a charity? We just want to help make sure that things go well. So, I mean, if that's the case, what's the profit in the investment?
No, AMCON is not for profit. AMCON is not for charity. It does not that history has that money to throw around for anybody who has taken some wrong business decision. Okay. It's an intervention agency to save the economy. Now, look at what will have happened if all those banks we are talking about had gone down. People have lost their job in the first place. People have lost their deposit. People have lost their investment. Businesses cannot have access to credit. Okay. You understand? So, because these things did not happen, you will not be able to see the effect. If 3 or 4 or 5 banks, had gone down, I'm sure you would have seen the consequence. It could have even affected some other banks who looked healthy, so to say. So it is not for government to say, okay, we're creating another place to make out profit, for the misfortune of some of the banks. It's an intervention. But government, we're not going to throw this money at you. It's going to give it at an agency to help you, to intervene so that you can now concentrate on your business and have money, to give to grant credit to businesses, and to individuals, so that the economy will continue to run. While behind the scene, they now begin to see how they can solve this problem. To go and recover loan, the bank will deploy the staff, they will go and get lawyer, and all manner of things. Okay. And that would cause a lot of distraction. Now you take this into AMCON, and that is why AMCON is now going to discount this loan they are taking. Like I'll give you an example of, say, you're having 10 million naira, so to say, loan. Because, okay, you take 7 million, go about your business, leave this into me. Out of that 7 million, from that I'm going to have 3 million, to begin to prosecute the case, to get lawyer, to run around it while you concentrate on doing the business. That is the core objective of AMCON. It's not to make money or to become a charity. So for 2 years, for somebody to say it has lose usefulness, it's not correct. Besides, if you look at what happened, they call, in America, it's called TAP. It's called Troubled Assets Recovery Program. That's what they have. Now, what happens is that they didn't stop there. The Congress is supposed to have an oversight, on this program. So, in looking at Nigeria, I thought that IMF was okay. Now that we have AMCON here, let the Congress play more oversight to see how much are you getting. Where are you having problems? If you are having challenges, why can't we talk to the judiciary? Or is it for us to, okay, since we have peculiar situation, can we now have a special bank recovery tribunal so that cases of, of this will not be going through the normal court and may not be suffering, judicial delays. You understand? These are ways to better the system than to call for scrapping. Besides, if you are saying, okay, AMCON, you now exist. This is what is the source? What is the cause of this problem? Okay. What is the cause of this problem? The cause of this problem, there are two major components of this bad non-NPL, non-performing loan. One is the money they got from what we call bridging loan that the banks gave for people to go and buy shares. Second point is the money they got for those who were to go and buy fuel. Subsidy fuel. Okay, this is where the major problem came from. What do we do? So you cannot isolate them. Now we cannot use other administrative, tactics to see how we can solve those major problems that gave rise to the loan for the first time. Besides, there's another third part of the problem. Those who were giving money for the IPP project, it got stalled. Some of them had taken a lot of facility from the government they could not pay. What do we do? You're not going to put pressure on government to begin to pay local loans and pay back to pay through IMCON. If you do that, it's not. And some of them are contractors that took money. It's government projects and they were not paid. It's not that people just took this money aside to misbehave. All right. So when you now look at what is the cause of this and see how you can begin to correct those causes and begin to see why is AMCON not performing. What is the place of government in it? So if government pays you a loan, it's okay. Don't pay the man directly. If you think that if you pay, it's likely to divide the money. Pay it through AMCON. Or submit whatever is your loan portfolio. Give it to AMCON. AMCON will say, what cost? Cost caused this problem. I was given this contract. This is the money I have not paid. Change the contract. Have you done it? Pay the money to AMCON. This is where they can, if they begin to do it, AMCON will not be frustrated to begin to give this threat that will no longer give loan.
Give you any loans. Okay, I'll go to the next question that I have here. It says, now, it is assumed that the main fiscal burden of AMCON is the opportunity cost of government revenue deployed for distress resolution or avoidance, which could have otherwise been used for infrastructure, welfare projects, and investments. Is that premise correct?
Yes, here and there. The opportunity cost of revenue, that this money we have used to finance AMCON, will have used for this. Yes. Fine. Now, when you try to empirically quantify it, you give the money as they are doing the road, the banks go down, people are out of job. You will now have more kidnappers to kidnap those who are working. I mean, I think this is just one of the best strategies that the government has used to save the economy. Look at Cyprus, their problem. Look at Denmark. Look at so many countries of the world. Okay. Nigeria, sometimes we do not appreciate our achievement.
Incidentally, it was actually the world bodies like the IMF and
that recommended AMCON.
That recommended that money be deducted from deposits.
So we have other leakages, but I want to believe that this AMCON is one of the best things that the government has done. That to begin to think of throwing the baby and the bath now, and as a matter of fact, I'm not saying anything AMCON could have done that he has not done. Okay. You have recovered all the loans. You have recovered, and make sure first the banks are in good health. It's just like you go to the hospital. Somebody is participating, you want to die, no, that the doctor now stabilizes the person. Okay. Yeah, the economy has been stable. I mean, it's not running. People, they cannot have credit to go and give. The central bank is matching it up with credit policy and all that. The economy is running. We will now have this field, pack them, all this debt, this toxic assets, take them to the back, and I begin to sort them out. And this is in a year or two. So I don't know what you will have expected AMCON to do. Most of the cases are in court. There are cases of those bank chief executives that took money, brought property, and all that. They are in court. By the time they get judgment, they will now attack those assets, sell them, and recover the money. Now we'll now begin to see the effect. As I said, I don't think we even stop at the bank. By the time it performs very well, we can now begin to use this to intervene in the activity of some even private businesses, buy off shares from them, make sure people go back to work.
To prevent the
social consequences of unemployment.
Okay, very quickly, and it's going to be my last question. Excuse me, please. Now, some experts have argued that IMF's question of moral hazard arises when the cost of an alternative resolution option is less expensive to the system and the taxpayer. What system should this be? Very quickly.
No, that's what I'm saying. What they are saying, what is the option? What is the second option? Do nothing? Because even the so-called circular, there's nothing IMF say, look, stop this, do this. We cannot just stop it for the sake of it. You understand? So I think that the better thing to do is to see how we can help AMCON by disaggregating the components, that constitute this toxic asset, and begin to see the essence of the government that had the problem. We could go back to the root cause and begin to see how we can. Apart from the bank, because these banks had, because this thing got sorted out, that's why life seemed to be coming back to the stock market.
Okay.
So it could have been much, much more widespread and devastating. You better imagine.
All right, thank you very much. I have been talking with Kenneth Olise, a chartered accountant, an economic analyst, and a social expert, and we have been we've been looking at the topic that says reviewing AMCON's mandate and IMF's recommendation. And of course, while we do recommend all the efforts of AMCON, just like my guest has said, it's also important that we go to the root of the problem, address those issues that actually bring on these bad debts. And I'm sure that AMCON is working on it. Thank you very much for being part of today's discussion that did it had to do with the Nigerian banking system and how it is moving forward. Please do join us again tomorrow for another edition of the show, of the program Let's Talk on Love World Plus.